Hi, you guys. How are you doing this evening? Um, we have a pretty cool show for you. We've had a bit of well, the guest has had a little bit of technical difficulties this evening, and I think that's got hammered out. I don't know why my phone is facing like the wrong direction. My little puppy dog. Um, I am very excited about tonight's show. I have a gentleman. Hi, Phoenix. How are you doing tonight? I have a gentleman on the show tonight, and his name is Papa Czar, but he's not. Um, it's Belfazar, but he goes by Papa Czar, and I'll actually have him probably tell us a little bit more about that because I've been kind of curious about where he got that name and stuff, and I'll end up asking him about it. Um, and what we're doing is we are going all the way into past the backwoods and the bayous of New Orleans into the French Quarter. And actually, I do like my family says they don't say New Orleans, they say New Orleans. So you're not really supposed to like enunciate the New Orleans, it's New Orleans. I've been corrected on that a few times. The gentleman that we're speaking with, he works at Voodoo Authentica. And I have been down in that area, but I hadn't ever heard of Voodoo Authentica, and I guess somehow I did manage to miss it because it was even on Jeopardy, and it was a question that was on Jeopardy, and I forget actually I had it on here, the exact question that they asked on Jeopardy, if I could get my phone to open up, was hold on. It says, catch some tunes at Preservation Hall and explore the mysterious at Voodoo Authentica in this neighborhood on Mississippi. Oh, he pulled it up. You little brat. Right. So if you make it to where you actually have a question regarding who you are or anything that you're affiliated with that shows up on Jeopardy, you're on the map. Let me tell you. Hi, Cheryl. How are you doing? Hey, darling. Um, the gentleman that we have on Papa Czar, he is a voodoo priest, and he does work out and through Voodoo Authentica, which is in the French quarters of New Orleans or New Orleans. And he is also a vampire. He's a sanguine vampire, and sanguine. A lot of people don't know what that means. I do a lot of studying with genealogy and stuff, so that's where I first learned that term. And my mom's Rh negative, or was, God love her. And what sanguine means is it means blood or of the blood. And if you study some of the Holy Grail type stuff, you'll probably run across that terminology. But he is actually he drinks blood, or I don't even know if it would be the word drink would be the correct terminology. So I'll have him actually explain that too. So he's a very interesting and a neat character. I think I'll start out first kind of talking about voodoo, because I think most of us there's not really a lot to pull up and to learn about the other facets of his personality. So he'll have to tell us about that personally. But as far as voodoo, I mean, I know a lot of us have heard about the ritualistic things, and I have my thing printed out here, but for some reason it's disappeared about voodoo. But voodoo came to New Orleans back in the 1700s. And it was a lot of the African slaves and the Haitian slaves, Cuban slaves, Cuba, and that came up through the area, and they had learned voodoo from Voodoo, which is a ritualistic religion that's practiced in different parts of Africa, and I believe it is West Africa that's practiced. Voodoo, when it came to New Orleans, it came into a period of time when, there was a lot of French, and there was a lot of Catholic. The Catholic religion was there, and Voodoo is actually what came there. And voodoo is it is, I don't know how you would say it. It is the product. I want to say product though, because it makes it sound like it's a thing. But voodoo is the joining of the Voodoo West African religion with the Roman Catholic religion. Many people aren't aware because you see so much of this stuff on television and so many of these TV shows and stuff that only focus on, oh, there's zombies, or something like that. They don't bring in the aspects of the Catholic Church or the Catholicism that is very strong, and I would say just equally the backbone of this religion as what the Voodoo, I think is how it's pronounced, religion from West Africa is. Um, this religion in New Orleans, there's a deity. I think if I'm pronouncing it right, I think it's Lejba, but I might be saying it wrong. She holds the keys to the gates of heaven. And there are several deities and stuff that are in the religion. I'll let him expound on that and kind of explain it, because to me, there's really a lot of misunderstood misconceptions about the voodoo religion. I started learning about it a few years back, and I am very unstudied in it. There's a lot to learn about this religion. And I also had began studying it when I became pregnant with my first daughter, because of a dream that I had. It was a very unusual dream. And ever since then, I've been pretty interested in it. And the hybrid of this religion um, came out and became more prominent, I would say, within the more of an expanded community outside of the New Orleans area, when, as many of us have heard of, Marie Laveau began to practice it. And she was a devout Catholic, and she attended Mass at St. Louis Cathedral that was in New Orleans. And she was a close friend to the Catholic priest that was there, Pierre Antoine. Today, New Orleans, yes, and this is Marie Laveau. The way that I came to learn about Papa Czar is he was working on an exorcism in the French Quarter. Actually, Kim Horn is the one that had told me about him. And as soon as I heard the name, it kind of clicked in my brain, and I thought, wait a minute, I know that name. And then I was right. He is the founding member of NOVA, which is the New Orleans Vampire Association. And I had just heard about it here and there through my studies. And when I went and I checked and I looked and I seen it was him, and I told her, you've got to get me some sort of way to contact this fellow. I'd love to have him on my show. So she pulled it off, and he, of course, he is on the show. With that being said, what I'm going to do is, instead of reading the rest of what I have written here, is I'm going to probably go ahead and have Dave pull Papa Czar on in, and we can kind of like go and talk after that. I kind of like maybe we'll talk about voodoo and stuff in the first half of the show, and then hi there, you. We're maybe going to talk about voodoo in the first half of the show, and then get on to the other aspects of your personality in the second half of the show. But Phoenix says, Deana, I've got my cell phone strap holding this up. And let me tell you, honey, I can't ever see anything, because I swear when I put that strap on, it's guaranteed to be in front of what I need to read. Oh, she said, Deana, you mentioned Rh negative blood. Does that have a significance beyond medical during pregnancy? Yes, actually, my mom had to take shots with her. I'm the oldest. So I always tease them like, I was born at the deep end of the gene pool, but I'm the oldest from the other kids. So she didn't have to take it with me. And actually, I'm the same type. But anyway, my brother and siblings, they're positive blood. And the human body kind of recognizes the Rh negative, or an Rh negative mother recognizes a child, if it's Rh positive, as being like a foreign body. I think it's because the Rh negatives, they don't have the protein in them for the virus, and that's what it is. It's a protein marker, was the virus that was on the blood. And I think what it is because the positives do have that marker, because they did have that virus at some point. I think it's the protein markers or antibodies, and I think that's probably why the mother's body does that. No, my mother was not a reptilian. Boy, she could be meaner than a dragon, though, sometimes, let me tell you, but she was not a reptilian. And you hear like a lot of this different stuff, like, oh, the elite class or Rh negative reptilian and all this and that, but I don't think so. Although who knows? As far as the voodoo, though, and my daughter had to take the shots to also carry. Yes, that is something that is very common. With that, actually, something else that's very common with Rh negative blood. If you're saying this, it sounds like your daughter's Rh negative. In my studies, I found out that Rh negatives have a tendency to have a more genetic inheritance of paranormal abilities and sensitivities. So your daughter might be very sensitive to paranormal activity, and might have quite a few things going on herself, especially if she really tried it. I think our blood has a lot more power than they give us credit for. Oh, and the Rh negative is also copper-based versus iron, if she's not aware of that. Okay, I'm going to talk to this gentleman here in the room with us. So How are you doing this evening?
I'm pretty good. Did a blessing for Tulane medical students just before coming into the room.
Did you really? What?
Yeah, we do it annually, so it's been about 15 years.
Wow. I did my actually, I don't know if you can even see it. Like I did my little blessing and anointing before I come on. I always do that before because you never know. Put my little
Never
stuff
know.
on. Yeah, you never know. So
Yeah, but
I
I'm in here around our blessed oils and our herbs. So if something happens,
I
I'm throwing down.
yeah, I know I was getting ready to say it looks like you're in an apothecary. So it
Yep,
is, you're surrounded.
I'm
That's
in.
what it looks like. Wow, how cool is that?
I'm actually inside Voodoo Authentica right now.
Wow. I know it was so funny when I started looking it up and you're probably like, well, she's really searched me out. I did. But it was like every time I turned around, there was like more stuff. And I'm like, it was shocked. It was like, how did I not? I know I've seen the shows before. Two different podcasts that you've been on, and even William Shatner's show. I was like, I watch these shows all the time. I had to have seen this. So then when I watched it, I guess, you start remembering things. I kept thinking I was having deja vu. Then I realized, no, you've actually just seen this before. Like you've really been there. Now, I'm kind of curious, and I'm good. I seen, and as I did a check, I seen you are from, is it the Marion, Indiana area?
Kokomo.
Kokomo? My
I'm
dad, I
originally
actually,
from Kokomo, Indiana.
wow. My dad, he changed, they used to be called Pickway shoe stores. And they converted
Yeah,
them over to pay. Yeah, they converted it over to a Payless shoe store. So that's how I knew where Kokomo was. I had went over there, and I was young. Went over there with my dad and stuff. That's a pretty cool area. So I'm kind of curious. I'm assuming, were you ever raised with the spirituality or the religion of voodoo as a child?
voodoo, no. Spirituality, yes. Um,
Okay,
I will say that voodoo didn't come about until my 20s, my early 20s.
early 20s. So
Yep.
how did you get I guess how did you become exposed to that? I seen where you said somebody was kind of giving you a little, somebody had mentioned a hard time about what are you doing in voodoo and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I know that you mentioned that your teacher had said that voodoo calls who it wants. And I
Yep.
really liked the way you said that. I thought that because I have always felt different. Hi, Carmel, how you doing? I've always felt very I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know how to explain it. There's like a well, actually, I'll explain it to you. When I got pregnant with my first daughter, and the strange thing is number wise, I shouldn't have been pregnant. So that makes still to this day makes no sense. But I had a dream that
The midichlorians lined up.
yeah, something in that. I was like, it didn't make any sense, and it wasn't like a dream though. But I guess it was a dream. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But it was like I was on a wooden platform, and I was like in a bayou, so to speak, and I was on a bed, and it was a wooden bed, and there's wood behind me, and it was like a wooden platform on top of a deck type thing, sort of like an open room deck thing out in the middle of a bayou or something. And there was a woman, um, possibly Haitian or something, but she was white, and I didn't know what Haitian was probably at that time. I'm sure I did, but I didn't have a familiarity like I do now. I didn't study world cultures or anything. And this one was all in white, and and there was white sheer type curtain type things that was hanging off of, like, I guess, wood pillars. And it did have like a ceiling, almost like it was a shelter, but it was a shelter, like a platform room out in the middle of a bayou. It was the strangest thing. And this woman had
Sounds like a Javo.
like a what? Oh, the bed thing,
Javo.
the room.
No, Javo. Javo is where we do initiations.
See, I don't know what it was. It was a dream. I don't know. I never even, and my dad and my parents, hi, Kim. My dad
Hi,
never, we weren't
Kim.
allowed to have MTV. Yeah, say, hey, look who I got on, Kim. Thank you. Thank you. And we weren't allowed to watch MTVs or movies or any of this stuff. So I don't know where this it wasn't like there was something that inspired this dream, but she had like a bowl, and then she had kind of like those like bowls and old pictures like my great grandma had that, she actually had just had it sit in our cupboard. She didn't use it anymore. And she was like attending to me, if that makes any sense. Like she was doing something or attending to me or something. And there was candles that was lit up around. I remember that. And then there was this man, and he kind of looked like he might have been of the same nationality, possibly that, or culture that she would have been, or maybe Haitian or something. And he had like this boat, like I would like it kind of like, look like the boats that was in my dad's Vietnam paintings. They were like they brought back from Vietnam. They were kind of like flat, and he had like this pole thing. And he's like taking this pole thing, and he came over. I don't know why he did it. It's kind of like maracas, but not like maracas or something. And this guy like did this stuff
We
over
call them
me,
qua
or
qua.
whatever this. So there is something in that religion that is that, or in
Yeah,
voodoo that is that. So
and
this guy did this thing.
it sounds like the dream might have contained spirits called Papa Loco and Mama Ayazan.
What
They're
does that
all
mean?
about children and birth. They're all about children and birth.
Are you kidding
But they
me?
were they were according to the way I was taught, they were the first Mambo and Ungan.
Okay, I'm going to be direct messaging the heck out of you with this because I always kept thinking like, well, my whole life I've always wondered like, this guy had like he had like a white, like a almost like Egyptian cotton type shirt. You know how it has like a different look to it. He had like that, and then like something that was more Muslim like. I mean, he was an all white too, and he was so. I mean, he was very nice. There was like a peace to him. Wasn't like I felt like I was scared or anything. How a person has a dream in the middle of a swamp with people you don't know around you and all this and that, you're not scared. I don't know, but I did feel at peace. It was very strange. Is the only thing I know how to explain it. Wow, so you've heard of that before?
Yeah, it's
Wow,
a common occurrence in a lot of voodoo practitioners, especially when they're having a first child.
that was my oldest. Wow. Well, now he wasn't voodoo and I wasn't voodoo, so why would make somebody have that kind of a dream if you're actually, my family's, I call them Baptist Costal. They're like First Church of God and Baptist, like it's like Baptist and Pentecostal mixed together. Except for there's no talking in tongues and falling out. Although it does say that in their Church of Anderson, which apparently they don't read their church doctrine. So why would I have that type of a dream?
Ah, like my godmother said, spirit calls who spirit calls. There's no rhyme or reason. Spirit calls who spirit calls. Like before I actually started practicing voodoo, didn't matter what kind of dream I was having. My brain could be blowing fluff. It could be a full blown nightmare or just like little prophetic things. Because I've always been gifted,
Hmm.
but a fog would start rolling around my knees,
That was in
and
the water.
every time, every time, this one person, and he was in a beat up tuxedo with a top hat, walking with a cane, had sunglasses on his face upside down with one lens popped out. Every time he just walked in my dream like he was taking a Sunday stroll, and every now and then he'd stop and look at me, keep going. But one day he said, "You're mine." Turns out that was Papagere.
Wow. Wow. And you know what? I have been having this thought with art and stuff that I see. And of course, you see the talk about the Hollywood celebrities and stuff. I know this sounds really strange, but you know how they show like one eye showing and one eye not showing? And some of the gods with Toth and stuff, that's interesting. I'm wondering if that has like a relationship to that when you've seen him with the one eye or not. But I've always felt like they're telling us this could be wrong, but that the gods are able to
Well,
see, or
kind of
gods see us through one of
it's
their
kind
eyes
of
or
a
something.
it's kind of a dualistic meaning in voodoo. One is it's a joke, a sexual joke. that one-eyed
Really?
Willie.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Um, but the other is because they can see in both the realms of the living and the dead.
Oh, that would make
And
sense.
all Gede spirits are guardians of the dead. And
Now,
because I
is
have a really strange connection to the dead, it made sense that Gede would be the one to call me.
wow, that's an interesting name when you say Gede. Huh, I've been studying actually about the Gede over in Europe, and huh, that's interesting. Well, that's a rabbit hole. I'm gonna have to look into that and see if there's a connection with that. I get tired of these rabbit holes after a while. Let me tell you, Alice gets tired.
There is
Now,
that.
so you've been practicing for like 37 years, and I know he said, what I need to move my cell phone thing here. He says, Papa's are, I've always wondered, is Papa Lejba real, like they presented on American Horror Story?
Papa Legba is real, but he's not. What you see on American Horror Story is more like Papa Gere than Papa Legba, except for one thing. One, Papa Legba is a protector of children, so there wouldn't be no sacrificing of children to him for extended life. That's just not how that's going to go. And the Gede spirits, Mama Brigitte would get up and kick everybody's ass if they started sacrificing children.
Wow. Now, see, do you think that that's one of the like the large misconceptions that's kind of I don't know what you call
Well,
it, but
what was
portrayed onto the
what was funny is that the the screenwriters for American Horror Story Coven actually came in and talked to real practitioners like myself and Mambo Buendi, and even back then Mama Lola was still alive, and they talked to us. They said, "Hey, this is the ideal we have. Would this happen?" We're like, "No," and they still ran with it.
wow. It's so strange. It's almost like I don't know. There's so many of the stories that I notice with even other religions that like the Catholic exorcism or just whatever other religions. It's I don't know. I guess it's the bang factor. Or no, actually, it's the dollar factor. I guess it's trying to get people to watch and stuff versus the reality of what
Well,
it is.
the the sad truth is that Hollywood still demonizes voodoo.
See, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, understand voodoo's been demonized for a long time, and it started with the first uprising in Haiti, which was 10 years before the actual uprising that created the island nation of Haiti. Louisiana Catholic Church and Christian leaders got together and said, our slaves ain't getting this uppity, so we're going to say voodoo's evil, it's of the devil, they did this first, right? Um, but in reality, there is no devil in voodoo.
I was wondering about that. I know that they have like, is it one god or one main god, and then other, I guess they would
Nope,
be
one
called
God,
lesser
one creator,
deities.
one
So one
creator, but
creator.
deified spirits that can rightly be called voodoo gods because they are deified spirits, but they're really more akin to saints and angels because none of the languages in Africa had a word for saint or angel.
Mhm.
In other words, they're only given what power God gives them to do anything.
So it wouldn't be, I was thinking it was more in lines of like, say, the like the Greek hierarchies, like you have Zeus and then you have the other ones. So it's not so much like that because they can run rogue. So this one, you really don't, the deities kind of like they do have to answer to the higher
Yep,
deity. Huh.
yep.
Wow, that's curious. Our producer said voodoo and hoodoo have been around honestly longer than organized Christendom.
Root traditions like Ifa and Fan and Congo and Yoruba can trace their roots back more than 10,000 years. My
Wow.
Jewish heritage can only go back six.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be right. Yeah,
So,
that would be
yeah,
right. Wow. That is
Ifa,
fascinating.
Ifa. Ifa, which actually spread through ancient Kemet and all the way into Nigeria and the Dahomey kingdoms, which we now call Benin. Um, Ifa can actually trace its roots back even farther, and it was considered the first organized religion.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, really?
Yep.
Huh. Now, I did not. That's something that I did not know. And how do they do their traditions and rituals? It's organized religion. I mean, is it going to a church or is it just doing
You have your temples and your holy
ritualistic? I
places.
thought
Yes.
Zoroastrianism was, so that kind of surprised me.
Nope.
Wow. Wow.
Zoras like to present that way, but no. Ifa beat them by about 4,000 years, actually.
That's quite a bit. Yeah, yeah, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. Huh. I did not know that. I'll have to study on that one. And I study religions, and you just taught me something. And I've been studying religions for a long time. Now, I read where you've been in the voodoo religion yourself for, is it 37 years, I read?
37 years, 17 of it as a priest of New Orleans traditional voodoo, and I've got one more initiation, and I'll be an Ungan Asagwe in Haitian traditions.
Okay, so apparently they keep it separate, I guess, I assuming like different denominations, so to speak, or is it just completely different churches?
Very much, it's completely autonomous of each other.
Hmm.
Now, New Orleans traditional voodoo actually started off with Orisha worship first because we turned 300 in 2018, but in 2019 marked the 300th anniversary of the first two ships from Benin to hit directly, nonstop, from Africa to New Orleans. So we started off with just the Orisha. It wasn't until the Haitian Revolution from 1794 to 1804 that we ended up with the Haitian Loa as well.
So when the Haitian migration happened, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
many years
So
apart
in
from
our
the two
city,
waves?
1719 to 1794 and 1804, almost 100 years.
Almost 100 years. Yeah, almost 100 years. Huh. Oh, that's
So
interesting. I
for
didn't even
100
know
years,
that.
New Orleans just had the Orisha, which are the African spirits. Spirits like Ilegua, Oya, Yamaya, Shango, all of these spirits came first. Now, the difference between us and something like Santeria or Locume is we didn't get Osane for nature, we got Ochosi. We didn't get
I feel like I know
Orunla,
that name.
we didn't
What was
get
that last name you
Orunla,
said?
Ochosi.
I feel like I know that name, but I don't know that name. It sounded familiar, but I don't know how I would know it. Huh.
Well,
Now,
Ochosi's the hunter, so he's the one with the. You'll see representations of him with like a bow and arrows.
wow. And I'm actually Sagittarius. Huh. I keep having that whole image with the bow and all. It keeps migrating towards me in different things, but I wouldn't have expected it to come at me in voodoo. That was surprising. I wasn't
Welcome to
expecting
my
that
life.
just now. Yeah, the
Welcome to my life.
continuous universal alignments. Hey, Evelyn. Now, so you're saying, the Haitian and the African, so they were within about 100 years apart, but you're calling them both voodoo.
Yeah,
So are they different
understand.
gods?
Voodoo's
You're
kind of like
saying?
a blanket term.
Okay, I was going to
Voodoo's
ask you
kind
if
of like a
there's
blanket term, like Christian. Okay, you know,
ah
or even Baptist. There are 306 different versions of Baptist.
yep.
All right, so voodoo's like a blanket term. All right, but you have things like Candomblé, Paulo, Lacume, Mayumba, Umbanda, Kimbanda. Haitian Voodoo, the 21 divisions from Dominican Republic, Obia, Chengo Baptiste from Trinidad. All of these Caribbean creations came by way of the slave trade. And
Okay, so
it
they're all
combines things like Ifa, Yoruba, Fan, Nago, Ile, Iwe. So, depending on where the slaves landed and the predominant people that were taken there as to how the voodoo was created.
and
Now,
how it
voodoo is an
evolved.
incorporation. It's an incorporation. It combines several different elements from African traditions, the Catholicism that they were forced to participate in, as well as indigenous practices. Because think about it. If you're ripped from your homeland where you knew, hey, this herb helped with this sickness, who better to go to than the indigenous population to get knowledge of new herbs?
Yeah, where you're moving to. Yes, exactly.
So that's
Yeah, that
why
makes
all
sense.
voodoo nods to the indigenous practices as well. Like if you walk in our shop, you'll actually see an altar to a spirit we call Black Hawk generically.
Hmm. And that's because that particular
Of the
um,
indigenous
deity is
personnel that
indigenous
help.
there.
Well,
Ah,
it
okay.
represents Native Americans, First Nations.
I was going to ask you,
So
what did it have a correlation with the Native Americans? Ah, so it is.
yeah, so voodoo in and of itself always combines the African traditions thrown in with a little bit of Catholicism, depending on what's being practiced. Like Santeria is almost a 50-50
I
solid
was
mix.
going to ask if Santeria was with that. Okay, so it is like a section, or I don't know, be a
Yep,
section, a quote unquote denomination in layman's terms.
yep. I would
Wow.
say they're sister religions. They
Huh.
all have the same root, but they grew up differently.
Wow. Okay. Now that's fascinating.
Now,
I
the
wondered
spirit
about
that was
that.
mentioned earlier, Papa Legba,
Hmm.
in New Orleans tradition, uh, we also have a spirit called Ilegua and Eshu. And Eshu is a trickster spirit. He's more like Coyote or Raven, less like Loki.
Like, look.
All of
Okay.
his all of his tricks are to teach people wisdom. They're not to try to harm people intentionally like Loki's tricks were.
They are. Producer said he found your. I told him that you had a book. He said he found your book. Can we admin to the authors on page on our website with a direct link to Voodoo Authentica? Yeah, he's asking, can he go ahead and add your the book for, I guess, for viewers if they needed to click and find your
Which
book.
book? Which
He
book?
said, which
There's
book?
two.
He said,
There's
there's two
two.
of them.
There's one that's a
Uno o dos.
combination. There's one that's voodoo oriented. That's New Orleans traditional voodoo. And then there's one that's a bunch of my favorite protection spells, shielding techniques, and
Oh,
magical wards.
oh, okay. I want to see that one. He said voodoo through.
Voodoo through my eyes.
Oh, yeah. He's like all books. Okay. Yeah, he's a link to Eater's books. Kim said, hey, Papa Czar, I told him sign mine. Yeah, yeah. You got to have him sign your book. Absolutely. Hey, he's a rock star to me. I absolutely adore William Shatner. If he was on William Shatner's show, he's the bomb to me. That's all there is to it. I was like, what? He was on Unexplained Mysteries. Get out of here. Now, who were the two you mentioned the two, I guess there would be deities that was in the dream that you could have possibly been, who was in that dream that I had, or vision, or it almost, I tell you what, it felt more like when I have a vision than what it feels if I have a dream. And usually if I have a dream like
sounds
that,
more like
just like that
sounds more
stupid
like
train wreck, it
Mama
happens.
Ayazan. Sounds more like Mama Ayazan and Papa Loco.
So who are they?
Like I said, they're reputed to be the first Mambo and Ungan in the Haitian traditions.
And
They're
what
the
is
ones
Mambo and
that
Ungan?
Mambo and Ungan. Mambo is the priestess, Ungan is the priest. Now, that's the other thing that I like about voodoo. Voodoo elevates women. It doesn't try to second class women. So in every ceremony, you'll have a mambo and an ungan that lead the ceremony.
Wow, and that's very interesting that you said that because I mean, my family, they started like the first Church of Gods and different things in this area. I'm Dri or Druid. I'm a Bandri, which is a Druidess. But interesting, the more I have been reading about the voodoo, it's just kind of because I believe in the animism and everything. And I mean, there's so much with it that has really resonated that just sounded like, wow, that makes sense. That makes sense. But something that I have had a problem with a lot of these religions is like what you've just explained. They go the opposite direction. It's so
Uh,
patrilineal that I mean, you might as well like. It's just I can't
and then
help
you got
just
things.
so many of them. There's no power to
Then
women
you got
whatsoever.
then you got things like Dianic Wicca that goes so far in the other direction
Is it
that
does
there's
too
no
much so.
balance. There's no
I
balance.
fully I fully agree with you on that. I do. A
And
lot of people may not agree. I agree on that.
nature at its core is about balance.
I agree with that. That does make sense. Wow. So he or she are like the founding voodoo priest and voodoo
Priestess.
priestess?
In the Haitian tradition. So it
They
would
look like they
make
could be
sense that they
Haitian.
showed up and looked like Haitians.
Yeah, they looked like what anybody that I've ever met, I've met. I mean, that's, yeah, verbatim is what, because that's the only reason why I even had the thought of Haitian. And I didn't know that Haitian was voodoo until the more I started looking at that. And I was like, whoa, that, I don't know. It just started going to get, I don't know. It's such a strange thing to even think about it at this point. It's just, I don't know. I've always wondered about that whole situation because I've never really, I mean, it's not like I've been down in the bayous with these boats. Is there even boats like that actually? I even wonder about that.
There
I thought
are
because they
back in
look
the
like the
bio.
paintings. Are you get
Back
out?
in the
See, I
bio, there
wondered
are
about that
some.
because my dad had these paintings that he brought back from Vietnam and they would be on the wall. And I always thought I maybe had that dream because it kind of looked like those boats or something. I don't know. But it didn't exactly look like them, but it did. Well, now you're telling me they do. Oh my gosh. Okay. It is getting stranger. The dream just keeps getting stranger. He said, balance. Yes. Yes, you are right, Kim. I absolutely agree with that. I don't, I almost wonder if a lot of this keeping things off balance, if it is a
It's
way of
designed.
disempowering the ability. It's exactly, that's what I was going to say, by design, to keep from having us to be able to harvest the actual powers that we have available to us, like masculine and feminine powers.
It's by design.
Wow. And do they teach that in the voodoo religion, or is that just your personal feeling on that?
Personal feeling on that one.
Yeah, I'm on board with that one. I agree. I think it is. And it seems like even more so. Huh. Well, that's curious. Now, of course, I'm going to like, ask the like varied, I guess, very quick. I had a whole great big bunch of questions that I even saved, and I could have swore that they were. I think it's like I must be going blind, but I do have my glasses on, so I can't even use that excuse. But I like had saved up all these questions on one of my phones. I could have swore it was that one. I guarantee it's going to be the one that we're talking on. um, so there's not like, or should I ask, is there like a church? Do people walk into a quote unquote, which people don't realize that's kind of the opposite of what the
Now,
Hebraic God
a
tells you to do?
lot
But
of,
there's like a church you walk into, or is it outdoors?
I
Or
wouldn't exactly say a church, but I would say
Mhm.
temples. There are temples. Um, the family that I'm part of, their original temple was destroyed in Katrina. However, they rebuilt in Shreveport. So my
Okay.
New Orleans traditional family that I was really blessed to be adopted into, they have a temple in Shreveport, in the Shreveport area. Now, Mambo Brandy, who owns Voodoo Authentica, she's fully initiated Mambo Asagwe. She's like my god sister.
So Mambo always means priestess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're both on the Haitian side of things. We're both under Mama Lola's lineage.
And
So,
I
but but they built a peristyle, which is what we call our temples, peristyle, and they built a peristyle, and it's in the bayou in Mississippi.
wow, so it's
So yeah,
crossed over there. You said Ellie is vocal tonight. She's, I don't know what it is. It's not cats. I don't know what it. Yeah, she's interested in something. Um, so like when I went around, actually, Dave, I sent you, I uploaded some like overlays of the inside of his shop there at Voodoo Authentica that shows kind of like around their shop. Can you kind of explain like what some of these items, like what are these dolls? What
those
is
are
this used for?
actually dolls that represent spirits. Um, the first one you see on the left is actually Ilegua. Then you have
I've seen the
Yamaya
word.
beside him, Shango, looks like Oya, Ogun, and Oshun in the picture too.
So
But
are
those are
these like,
all dolls that you can get to represent those spirits. They
and the
are made
spirits
by a
are
local
like
mambo.
deities?
Yeah,
Okay.
deified spirits.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
and now
look,
what is this one?
that is an actual. That's an actual altar. It's been cleaned since that picture. I know. I'm the one that damn well cleaned it, but it's Yamaya and Oshun's altar inside the shop. So we get a lot of people from around the world that come and pray at the altars.
Oh, wow. Now that's really neat that they do that. And it looks like do they leave an offering, it seems?
Yep, they do. Oh my
Now on
God, that's
these
such an old picture.
you have to I have to get some new ones. um so when they come and they leave like these offerings to the gods, I mean, is it I mean I because I'm very unfamiliar with, I mean, actually this evening is the first time usually I'm having a conversation about religion in something that I'm not very familiar with. Usually I'm familiar with most religions that I discuss. Okay, like in this one here, it looks like I'm seeing maybe alcohol and money. What if somebody must have really wanted some
Oh
money? They
yeah,
want some alcohol and money, or possibly. Oh, that's
that.
interesting. It's almost a
I'm trying
Celtic
to.
design in the background. That is very
Oh,
interesting.
that's the old Papagere altar.
And it looks like he even has like a little Pharyngian hat on that character there in the front.
Well, that's Saint Expedite. Saint Expedite
Okay.
is the one that represents the Gede spirits.
Really?
So yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So they might be an etymological connection with those names. Wow. Okay. Yeah, because he did have a little Phrygian hat. So when they come there and they say like when a person does come to the altar, is it a different deity for, say, you have one deity for because you mentioned
Now, in New Orleans
the two
traditional,
that you
yeah,
mentioned.
they do have their spheres of influence in New
Okay,
Orleans
that's what I was
traditional
trying to
voodoo.
ask, if they had a different, like certain realms that they
Kind of
go
like the
to.
saint.
Like
Kind of
maternity, I
like the
need help
saint.
with maternity or help with finance. Okay, so it is like, actually I've got on my antique. You can't, can you see that there? Maybe. Yeah,
I
you
can see
can. Better
that.
than I
The
see it.
saint.
Yeah, it's my little Funny, my mother was she had inoperable brain cancer in 2020, and she needed protection. And I kid you not, this was sent to me for her, and so I gave it to her, and that just kind of helped her along the way in things that she had in life. So each one of them does have like a center of influence, or a sphere of influence is what you and I would call it, but most people like a um, let's say one has a sphere of influence over weather, another one has a sphere of influence over giving childbirth or getting pregnant even, or another one over your gardens, or another one over finance. Is that what you're saying, each of these deities or
Yep.
spirits?
Each of the deities have their own particular, and like I said, I kind of on calling them deities, but each of the spirits have their own sphere of influence. Like when I'm dealing with my garden, I deal with a Chosi. When I'm dealing
Yeah.
with, because he's the herbalist as well. So, yeah. When I'm dealing with
Wow.
selling things, I deal with Shango and Oya because as a team, they're over business and finance.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Now, and what are the offerings that people offer? Look like I see maybe some
Woo, it
alcohol there, or
depends.
money, or just whatever.
Oh, yeah. But the Gede spirits have a very special alcohol. Um, a lot of us will make our own pimon. It's called pimon, but it's either gin or vodka or rum. More often than not, gin, but it's gin, vodka, or rum, and it's always steeped with 21 hot peppers.
My sister would love that. I couldn't do it.
Takes
And
a special kind
she
of
just
person.
eats hot peppers. Really, with hot peppers, alcohol and hot peppers?
Yep.
Yikes! Yeah. I always thought alcohol was hot enough. It's like you talk about hot damn. That's really going to be some hot damn.
It's gonna be like 5 times fireball.
Yeah, I was gonna make a sit down fireball. I had to get something like that from my one friend that loves the fireball. Kim said, "Hey, does that link Skydoor just list to get you to the store there at Voodoo Authentica, because I need to order some Papa Czar. Yes, only if Papa makes it concoctions for me." She goes, she knows which ones. Well, does it include hot pepper and liquor?
No, she's probably talking
Hmm.
about that special oil I made to keep bad things away.
Ah, you know what? Yeah, especially in that line of work. Um, Matter of fact, when we come back from the break, we'll even talk about that. But in that line of work, um, she had mentioned that you do that, and you were using like the stick, which she had explained to me. It sounded very druid-like to me, with what some things that we do, and so it really kind of surprised me. It was so much correlation with that, and I mean, when you really start learning about the migrations of different religions and the peoples, um, I almost wonder if there hasn't been some sort of connection about that somewhere along the lines where there'd be such a connection with that. But yeah, um, being in the paranormal field and doing what they do, I've even kind of suggested, I mean, to me, anoint yourself, get your oils, get somebody that gets you protected, and get your, protection up, or whatever you got to do before you get out there and start
I don't go
tapping on
into any
spirits.
situation without at least 3 different protections up.
Really? So what do you carry for yours? And then we'll go into intermission after you tell us that then.
Well, one of them is the little skull cane that I carry with me.
Okay.
Anytime I'm doing any kind of work, especially in a haunted situation where I don't know all of the details, yeah, I walk in with that. That's got all my hard protections on it. I always carry with
And
me an
what kind of
oil,
wood is that one? Is that one a special type of wood that you use with
mahogany,
yours? Mahogany. Ah, mm-hmm. That makes sense.
and African mahogany at that.
Ah. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's harvesting a lot of power. Yeah, that's a lot of influence. A lot of people don't understand the influence and the power of the elements. And what else do you use? You said you use that cane.
And I also have a rosary or another charm with me, depending on the situation.
Wow. And do you do like anointing oils or anything like that prior to?
Why care? Not prior to. Nope.
Really?
Don't need them with the other protections.
Oh wow. That's interesting. See, I actually do it before I go in and after I come out and then do a total cleanse. I mean, I'm
Oh,
telling you,
I did a
they think I'm
cleansing.
funny.
Don't get me
I come
wrong.
in the front door and I strip butt naked. My clothes go into a bag and they don't even come in my. I'm like, it'll be at the front door. It's not coming into my area until I've cleansed that stuff. I know they're probably
Yeah,
like, what?
been there, done that.
See, I was wondering. Wow, she kind of explained. Kim
Had the
explained a little
had the
bit.
cops called on me one time because I had to go into a situation I didn't know about. And it was just really nasty, and I had the cops called on me because I stripped butt naked on my front porch. I wasn't going in with nothing, nothing.
So you understand the residual. Yeah, see, exactly. It really does. People don't understand. That's why I always thought that maybe that might be more of what the reasoning is of baptism and stuff, because, I don't know if it displaces,
No,
these
several
items off of
religions
us
have a
or
form.
what it is.
Several religions have a form of baptism. It's not
So
just
that's
a
what I
Christian
thought.
thing.
Yeah, it's in several religions.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I've always wondered if that's where that like the whole process came from, is just removing any of these attachments that we have. It's not, a lot of people just think it's how should I, well, in the Judeo or in the Christian, they think of it as it's representing rebirth. No, it's actually, I think it's removing all of these attachments from all these
Well, wouldn't that
unwanted.
be a form of rebirth?
I guess it would be a form of that, because you are, yeah, it is. Of course, they don't realize that goes hand in hand, but yeah, many don't realize that. But yeah, it would. Okay, we're gonna give him a chalk over here. Actually, I like the stick too, so he's got two over here. Yeah, it would be the same. That would very much be the same. Um, I don't know. I'm going to ask Dave if he's wanting to go to break now, or did you want to wait, Dave? Dave's not in the building. Where's
Dave
Dave?
already took a break.
Dave. Yeah, Dave's on it. He's like, I'm on a break. I'm not like smoking. Oh my gosh, we're not. It's not time yet. Well, while we're waiting for him to answer that question, there he is. There's
Honestly,
the Godfather.
it's your choice. Whenever you're ready to go, you got a 2 hour show and you got about 6.5 minutes to the 1 hour mark. So it's up to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, just tap on it when you tell us, and then we'll roll with it. Um, so one thing I will ask a question about is when you went in, and I know that this was an exorcism that you were brought in to do. And so since we have that time, we actually discuss this one first. How does I mean, I have seen it and studied it in the Catholic religion, and I cannot get over how many people that run around and say they're demonologists. And I'm sitting there thinking, Mike, you didn't even just describe an exorcism correctly. Like, oh, you're not even watching good shows. Like, that was not an exorcism that they described at all. So you hear so many different descriptions, but now one thing I've not really been familiarized with is what an exorcism is in voodoo. How does something like that happen? Or how do you, what is the, I mean, do you
Well,
do you
actually,
identify who the beings are, and how does that go?
normally, an exorcism of any kind in voodoo depends on the tradition. Like in Haitian tradition, they'll take you to a graveyard, rip the clothes off of you. You'll be there stark naked. Then they'll wash you down with some of the graveyard dirt first, then holy water, and you walk out backwards in clean clothes.
Ah, I was learning recently about the walking in and out of the different areas with the voodoo religion and going backward versus
Yeah,
forward. What is the symbology in that?
confusing the spirits. If
Oh, is
they
that
see
what it's
your
about?
back, if they see your back, boy, when you're backing in, if they see your back, they rush the gate. They think you're leaving. They try to escape. They're blocked. If they see your
Huh,
front, they think they're coming in. That's why some of the buildings still have the keyholes upside down. Confuses
really?
spirits.
I wondered what that was about. Really, and you see a lot of keyholes in archaeology and everything throughout everywhere, even landscapes and stuff and effigies. Huh. Wow, that's really interesting. I did not know that. Huh. That
One of
is
the
interesting.
one of my favorite places to find a keyhole in New Orleans is the Cornstalk Inn on Royal. If you go all the way over to the right hand side, you'll see a little gate that goes towards the back area, and the gate is still got its keyhole upside down.
Wow, that's neat. They need to make sure they keep stuff like that. That's pretty neat.
They do.
Huh.
It's part of the historic society now. So
Wow. Now I would
the
say that
Vucare.
okay. Now so that portion does come from, I would assume, like the more I guess West African or Haitian roots, because I know that that's not something, of course, I shouldn't even say that. I was gonna say it's not something that you hear of, confusion in the Catholic religion, but then again, I need to bite my tongue on that one. The
Actually,
Catholic religion has a lot of confusion in it.
that's more from the French and Cajun root.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You know what? I have been all over France a few times, and now that you spent, actually, I can't even show it. My entire room and everything in here is all French. Wow, that's curious. I'll have to even look at that. Wow, you do see that with some of the societies and stuff. And as a matter of fact, my bedspread, well, I can't reach it right over there. It even has like the fleur de lis with skeleton keys. And that's what's all over my bedspread, as a matter of fact. Wow, I'll have to look into that. That's very curious. I did not know that. Wow, I knew that if you went through a portal, so to speak, or door, puerta, or through a door, um, I knew if you went through it, when you did do the salt and stuff, and do the what is it called when a person takes and you lay out the I guess is this the salts that are laid out into the configurations? What is that called? I don't really know.
It's not salt. It's cornmeal.
Cornmeal, really? I thought
Yep.
that was salt.
Nope. Cornmeal, and it's called a veve.
Veve.
Mm-hmm. Two syllables, but it can be spelled either Veve or Verve.
Huh. And why is it cornmeal?
It's just the way I
Just
was always
is.
taught.
It's for the
Nobody
it's to
ever
confuse the
explained that to
chickens.
me. Nobody explained that to me.
No, Lucy got no splaining. Wow, I always
I think
wondered
it was
about that.
just.
I thought
I
that was
think it was
salt.
just. I think it was just easier to come by for people like the slaves.
Probably
Flour
be a
was
lot
more
easier than salt.
expensive, so flour was more expensive. And even though salt was around in abundance, it's used to guard against the dead. And when you're calling spirits, you want your dead to be there too.
Yeah, they can't cross over with the with the salts. Is there a lot of that's curious that you say that. Made me just wonder, is there a lot of ancestral um do you call
Oh,
on the
voodoo's
ancestors for
very ancestor,
protections and everything with that, I would
it's
think?
very ancestor oriented.
Wow. That is very curious. I was wondering about that. Yeah, so you couldn't use the salts because that would create a barrier to where they couldn't come and give you protection or
True.
guidance. Huh. Wow, that's curious. I did not know that. Okay, I'm going to ask Dave if he wants to. He's at his 9:50 mark. Did you want to go ahead and take the break now, Dave? You're not coming over here. I got this little four-legged friend. She just thinks she's got to be
Forget
involved in
about it.
everything.
Forget about it. Yeah, we'll take our break.
I'm
We'll be right
gonna
back, guys.
Okay, we'll be
All
right
right.
back after this break, you guys. I was beginning to wonder. I sent a thing to Kim. I was like, well, this is a really long break. We're
I went to the
back.
bathroom.
You know what I did too. So did she. My little four-legged friend here. So I was kind of curious, like, I know that with voodoo, of course, there's all the, I mean, everybody already, they don't know about, but I mean, everybody's already heard about like voodoo dolls and zombies and all this stuff that, unholy weird is always like telling us about, but something that is really, I
Okay,
guess,
let's start
like
off with
really
addressing
prevalent.
first voodoo dolls. Okay,
Oh, okay. Because I
let's
was going
start
to
off
ask
with the
about the
voodoo
gardening. Okay.
dolls. Voodoo dolls are our incorporation of the European puppet, plain and simple.
Like a marionette.
No,
No.
more like an effigy.
Oh,
More like
okay.
an
Like an
effigy.
effigy.
Okay.
Okay.
But you got to remember back in the days when voodoo was first starting to come up, a lot of the Afrikaans were literally trusted as doctors and treated as if they were respected elders.
Like, say, Dr. John.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, they were not allowed to learn to read or write due to things like the Code Noir here. So, if you were coming to somebody and having them work on you, they would take herbs, oils, roots, and prayer work to affect the healing, most notably around in this area, Psalm 89, the healing psalm. And they would take a piece of the outfit you were wearing during the accident or whatever, make a doll out of it, stick a pin, say you were working on the shoulder, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And the next time you would come back to see that person, they would tell you to go get your doll. You would bring them the doll. They would see that pin in the shoulder, and they'd say, okay, we worked on the shoulder now. Are we going on to something else, or is this what we're still working on? So it was an early form of medical chart. It wasn't until about
Wow.
75 years of usage that the voodoo doll actually became um, a way. I see that running tally. Okay.
I seen that. Actually, he got two over there on me.
So, but it was used as a form of medical chart. It wasn't until later on that we kind of figured out that we could use it like the the Europeans did as a form of attraction, as a representation of the person we were praying for.
Wow, I never knew that. That's kind of smart. I mean, if you think about it, that was really an intelligent way to get around those rules and to be able, uh-oh, where'd you just go? Where are you at? I'm only seeing me.
We'll see if he can come back
He
in.
might have accidentally hit a button. I see him move his
He,
phone.
he might have hit a button, or
Yep.
he might need to get a charger. So,
I think he just hit a button. You want me send him another, send me a, I can't talk in English. Send me a thing and I'll send him another code.
no, the code is still good. He can still get in. It's
Oh, okay.
just have to wait. So
Okay, so I'll just message
there
him your
he is.
code to let you back in.
There
There
he
he
is.
is.
There he is. There he is.
He's
So,
back. Hey, wait a minute.
so-
Now I get a point for that one.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It was just gonna be a point. So
I get a point on that one. Yeah, that's really a smart way to have gotten around them not being allowed to communicate, because actually, technically, that's a better communication than really a medical chart. That's pretty smart. I never would have known that. Wow.
It wasn't until later on that we learned that we could use them like the Europeans did and attract things to us. But we use them for things like healing and love and protection and drawing a new job or getting a little bit of extra money. Nobody ever went, you're a
So it evolved into that for the extra money. Huh.
no, and it actually evolved into that. Nobody actually does that. not a real voodoo practitioner. That's still
So
a
I wondered
European
about that.
tradition.
So it's still all European tradition. Wow. So voodoo practitioners themselves don't even do that. Huh.
No, and most voodoo, you won't even find dolls now.
Wow. Really? So you're not able to buy the
Yep.
voodoo dolls. I wondered about that because I had even heard people mention different stuff. And I know I've heard like the custom ones and this and that, but I'd never really heard of any voodoo shop that actually sold voodoo dolls, so to speak. So so basically that's another one of those I don't know what you'd even call it. It wouldn't be fictionalized because it does exist, but it's like an alternate meaning type narrative. Like they've completely changed the
Now,
narrative of
New
what that
Orleans,
really is.
New Orleans traditional voodoo does use dolls. It does. We have, for as long as I can recall, but they're just not
It's
used
coming in
what
and out like that.
people.
His audio, Dave.
I don't know.
Your audio is coming in and out. I'm gonna see if Dave can figure that out. I don't know. So traditionally, basically the dolls, I mean, it really wasn't used for the purpose of what you see in all these,
No,
horror movies and all those, that's just mostly for
not. But think about it. You're a French overseer. You come in, you see your slaves using a doll. The first thing you're going to think is, "Oh my God, they're doing what they used to do back in."
he said you might need to check the Wi-Fi on your cell and make sure that you're like your yeah, he says he's on 5G, so it shouldn't be they're messing with us. It's Harold Bluetooth.
It's like a light on.
Huh. So I wonder why it is doing that. Yeah. Is mine is mine feeding back like that, Dave? Because I'm guessing you're probably actually getting in that area with a lot of weather too.
No, yours is coming through fine. Honestly, it's probably Marie Laveau. She's like, really?
That's funny that you say that. I know. I was like, it could be something just messing with us. Kim said, laughing out loud, we're trying to figure out what energies were there and who done it. Oh, yes, about the exorcism. Like,
It's not the first time that spirits have come through and interrupted a podcast.
He might have to come back on with this other one.
Yeah. But it's the high priestess, Marie Laveau. I'm saying it.
Hi.
It's the high
Hello,
priestess,
Ola.
Marie Laveau.
Is back.
Lady Marie Laveau says enough's enough.
Hey, Licky, check this out. He's in the shop. We get to check out the shop.
I'm by the Marie Laveau altar.
Wow. So people do come in and they actually make offerings to her.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. So even though she isn't like one of the spirits or a deity, people.
Well, in traditional New Orleans,
though she may be.
In traditional New Orleans voodoo, she's considered an elevated spirit. So
okay, she
would literally be a Loa or a great ancestor.
Wow.
So yeah.
Now I have like a thought process, and I know it sounds strange or whatever. I mean, it almost takes you into the Star Wars mentality, but whatever. I've always wondered if, like, when we are worshiping this deity, we're directing, literally, people don't realize this, prayer and all this stuff. We're literally directing our energy towards this being, this deity. So even if it's an ancestor or, like you're saying, these spirits or whatever, if the more people that are directing their energy towards this being, the more energy this being has, is kind of how I've always felt. And I'm not counting like afterlife soul contracts, he like Dark Crystal, here, take my soul, or
Mhm.
what was his name? I'm not thinking, it was speaking in terms of like afterlife. This is like in life, like, I guess,
Well,
carnate human
understand.
transferring
Um,
their energy to an incarnate being, I guess is the way I would explain it.
well, voodoo traditionally believes body, soul, and spirit.
Hmm.
The body goes to dust, the soul goes back to be with deity, and then the spirit sticks around to help us. That's why the ancestral reverie is a really big thing in voodoo. So we
Huh.
still have our ancestors present.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I wonder about Phoenix says it's coming in good where she's at. Yeah, I wondered about that, like how they, yeah, he's like, there you go. I'm still keeping my point. No. Yeah, I was wondering about how that was considered with with the entire I guess hierarchy of beings. Like once somebody passed, did they remain, say, an ancestor, or were they just an elevated person, or did they become, a being or an entity and such? So she is then now at this point basically considered to be an elevated being, and
Hmm. But she's
kind
still
of
an
like,
ancestor as well.
okay, so she still is as an ancestor.
Because she was a
So,
living person.
huh, that's fascinating. So can people say, whatever, Sarah and John, I don't know if there was like a certain thing that Marie Laveau herself focused on, but say Sarah and John want to ask her guidance in something. Can they ask her guidance, like invoke her to help them as far as a
People
deity?
do it every day
Or
here. Not as a
really, I
deity.
wondered.
Not as a deity.
So it'd be as an
Remember,
elevated.
she's not going to replace God
Okay, that's right. You're saying as an elevated
as an
spirit.
elevated spirit. You can have her intercede for you, kind of like
Wow.
saints and angels.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I think that's more in line with what reality is than than a lot of Christendom, I think, in some ways. Um, so, and at the same time, if somebody were related to her, then they can also call on her like for protection as an
Hmm.
ancestor. She was an actual carnate human.
Now, the fun thing is, in Marie's family,
Hmm.
both the Glapions and the Paris, there are no actual practitioners. You'll have a lot of people come up and say they're a Laveau, but Marie Laveau, that was her unwed name. Her
Huh,
married name was Glapion, or she was also called the Widow Paris.
really? So Laveau
Hmm.
would have been her maiden name.
Yep.
Huh. So did she practice prior to marriage? I mean, was she
Yep.
raised up in I would think, in the religion?
A lot of people around here do things that grandma and grandpa and great grandma and great grandpa did and don't even realize it was voodoo.
Really? I bet I could.
Yep.
And do they not
Floor
acknowledge it?
washes, floor washes are one of the things that a lot of people do around here still, and they don't even
And
realize that was created by and from voodoo.
what is a floor wash?
Floor wash is a thing you can use to wash negative away from your home. You can
My grandmother
wash
did
your
that.
floors,
Uh-huh.
or you can do things like attract business. Depending on what you put in your mop water, will detract from negative or attract positive.
Wow. Wow, that's kind of neat. Yeah, I did notice that when I was studying about it and stuff, that there's like a lot of metaphysical connections with voodoo, and like natural elements and stuff. That's pretty cool. Does that come, I guess, from both the I
Well,
guess the
each of the
Western
Orisha are
African and
actually each of the Orisha are all linked to a natural phenomena. like Obatala. Even though he rules over knowledge and wisdom, he's also sky and clouds. Oya, winds and hurricanes. Shango, fire and lightning. Each
So they
one
do
has
have
its
a
own
different.
elemental connection.
Now, these elemental connections, were any of them ever at some time, were they carnate humans, or were they all, I guess I would say, not elevated spirits, but prior spirits or deified spirits? I don't know how you would say it.
Now, of all of the Orisha, it is reputed that Shango was once a living person. So it's possible.
You're like, it's possible.
But Shango, Shango had a fiery temper. And evidently, in one of his fits of rage, he accidentally killed his best friend. And what he did was he was a really just king. But when he accidentally killed his best friend, he dissolved all his holdings, gave all the benefits to the people, the family of the person he killed, and then took his own life.
Oh, wow.
And while the people were mourning the fact that he was gone, God reached down and elevated him.
Because he had given up so much?
Because he made right a wrong that he did. He didn't have to be convinced of it. There wasn't no threat of eternal damnation for it. He did it on his own.
He rectified it himself. Wow,
That's
kind of
the
neat.
other reason that I like voodoo. Personal accountability. We can't run around and go, ooh, the devil made me do that.
I know. You know why the devil gets blamed for so much that they... Yeah, there's a lot that devil didn't do. Like, yeah, no. Is that your middle name? My grandma.
Trust.
She even used to say that too. She says the devil gets blamed for an awful lot. He's awful busy. Which is true.
He's all over the world.
Yeah, he's all over. And now,
he would have to be as omniscient as God in order for him to do everything he gets blamed for.
And even if you read the Judeo-Christian Bibles and stuff, people don't even realize that the different sections and bulls are this, and then you have like Shaitan or Satan. There's a lot of differences in there. There really is, but everybody just lumps it in because honestly, ignorance is easier to control, and they really took that knowledge from the people. I mean, that's what happened. People just, if like you said, the reading, of the voodoo dolls, like the way that was created, if you keep people from having access to have and to share knowledge, then it's a lot easier to control them. And I really think that that's a lot.
Sort of like what's going on in Florida right now. I mean, Florida.
Flower dough, right? Yeah, it's going a lot of places. Let me tell you, I'm shocked. Actually, she's not even on tonight. I have a friend that's from, no, she's not on tonight. She's from New Zealand, and they're going, it's unbelievable what's even happening there. There's just so much stuff that's happening. Now, you have another aspect to your personality that I ended up finding, and I knew about this one. This is actually the one I originally wanted you on, but I'm so fascinated with the voodoo because of that dream that I had, and well, of course, with Erica too. Well, my youngest one too, but that first one was just like, I mean, it was like real life. It was so strange, but I knew about this beforehand. You are one of the founding members of Nova, which is, a lot of people don't know what that is. Let's just say Nova. I'm not talking about the TV show, but I do like that too. But Nova is I'm going to say it as us Northerners do, the New Orleans Vampire Association, or New Orleans. No.
It's New Orleans. New Orleans. It's only pronounced New Orleans in music. And that's only if it's rhyming.
Yeah, you have to rhyme it out. Now,
it's New Orleans. It's New Orleans or New Orleans in song.
And I haven't been rapping lately, but let me tell you, I'll have to remember
Girl,
that because
don't
I
get me
might be able to
started.
use it. I might be able to use it either way. But something I did see before I even ask you about that. I saw a clip where it looked like you might have had tourists or something that were coming in, and you and if I remember right, it did seem like it might have been two, maybe three other individuals. When these people were coming in, you were taking what appeared to be water, but I'm sure it was probably something that was anointed, and you seemed to be anointing the individuals in this crowd. I don't know if it was
Florida
like,
water.
is that what was going on? What is the
Florida water.
purpose in that? What were you doing? I was very fascinated.
Florida water, agua de Florida, is just a little floral cologne that we use in voodoo, but the story I got told, a glass bottle of it got broke during a ceremony one time, and people were quick to catch on to how quickly spirit started dealing with things. Spirit started making everything happen. So
things
it
started
became a
manifesting.
standard practice to have Florida water in your ceremonies. Now I use it to get rid of negative intent and effects.
Wow. So it wasn't like I guess it was in many ways like a protection water.
Yep.
Huh.
Now you got to ask
that
yourself,
means.
was I protecting them or me?
Well, I was getting ready. I was getting ready to ask, was it to protect them as they, went through the different areas of the quarters, or was it to protect the quarters from them? So, but I didn't think about you. But yeah, because people bring their residual baggage with them.
Yep.
They don't even realize it. That's why you cleanse your house when you have company over. I know it was your great grandma or your aunt, but cleanse your house.
Yeah, but just remember, like they say in Judaism, company and fish smell after 3 days.
They do say that actually.
You're coming for a week? I don't think so. You can spend a couple of days at the hotel.
So. The Drury Inn's right down the road. Oh my gosh, it's Tuesday. You gotta go. So I'm curious about this. With you being when it says that you're a founding member, I did watch that your spot that was on William Shatner's show, Unexplained Mysteries, and you had stated like when you were 11
I
years
hate
old.
the fact that they kept using the term victim.
Victim?
No matter how many times
they?
I told them they're not victims, they're donors, not victims.
Now, did they say the term? Really? I didn't think they even said that. Wow. Yeah, it's not
they used victim.
Wow. I mean, it's not like, you're on Blade hunting somebody down. Yeah, it's a little bit different than that.
No. This is not True Blood. This is not Blade.
So you are not sparkling or anything like that when the sun hits. I thought
Depends
that's
on how much glitter. Depends on how much glitter I wear.
I think actually, you know what? I have that right here. Can you go ahead and he did cue it up. I was going to ask if he can cue this up really quick. Cool. Is that ready to play, Dave? It might be easier to play it than.
Yes, it's ready to go whenever you're ready.
But yeah, go ahead and play that. Now I'm thinking about it, or you're thinking about it.
Look, Mom, no hands.
Button. Yeah. Ah! Want to hit? Hit goes.
Friends call me Czar. 54 years
Yours
old.
is echoing back.
So it was 11 and sanguine program. Things changed. I was found and always sickly. And one of my tons picking on me and my sister. And something snapped. And I went charging. And he was bigger and stronger, and he pinned my arms down to my side. And then I just kind of reared my head back and bit him. He was wearing a coat. I bit through the coat, through his shirt, and into his flesh enough that I could actually taste blood, like lots of blood. Once that blood hit my tongue, it was like I suddenly came alive. Do I really need the blood? I do. And I've gone without for lengths of time just to see what would happen. I'm the kind of person that it physically shows on. My skin will get ashy, my eyes will be dull and glazed. It literally physically shows on me. So, what are some of the common misconceptions? How about holy water gets me wet, garlic tastes good on pizza, stick a stake through anything's heart and it will die. I do not sleep in a coffin. I have a king-size bed, thank you very much.
Unlike mythical vampires who can turn themselves into bats, modern-day vampires admit to having to obey physical laws. Because he can't exactly fly in through someone's bedroom window for a quick bite, Balthazar has devised sanitary methods to suck blood from his victims. He finds victims who are willing to feed him.
Hello. Here.
I like to think I have a pretty good grasp on human vampirism after now 10 years of doing field work, but I realized very quickly that the only thing that real vampires are more secretive about than themselves are their donors. They have to hide in the shadows because almost no one ever believes them when they say that they feel the need to consume human blood.
I use a clean technique. I'll clean the area on the donor. Honestly, alcohol swabs always leave a funny taste afterwards. I make sure that the blade is new every time. You ready?
Ready.
More often than not, I'll use the back side of the shoulders. I poke a series of holes, and those holes actually provide me enough. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
That's not bad. Sweeter taste. You've been getting fatty acids again.
Oh, that's good.
I can tell when people are a little bit low on their magnesium and potassium. I can tell when they're not getting enough fatty acids. And because of the flow, I can also tell if they're not drinking enough.
As a psychologist, I think we're talking about people caught up in a story, caught up in a kind of melodramatic ritual. People will go into cosplay and other dramas because it's creative and it makes them feel special, and it is very imaginative. So the rewards are great, even the that it actual transfer of energy from one body.
It's cutting out a lot. They did say victim a lot. And I don't see that as being, yeah, I see that not as being victim. Now, what I'm kind of curious about, and which you wouldn't even know, I actually descend from Vlad the Impaler, or Dracula, as people want to call him, Dracula. And he is, well, through Dragon or Draculeste is the family house of Draculeste. I descend from them. I've always been fascinated, of course, because of that. I mean, it's, that is my lineage, but the reasoning for those names is completely entirely different. Now, and it seemed to me like at the end, he was even doing like the whole, when you watch Blade Trinity, when the guy does the little stuff there at the end, and he's got Blade like drugged up, and it's like, dude, this is really happening to him, and you're trying to convince him that this is like in his mind, kind of stuff. It kind of reminded me of that. Now, I have heard, not even so much.
No, ABC 2020 did a butcher job of it too. So
Did they really? It figures, right?
Yeah.
I have heard where there's so many, I mean, there are a lot of people that, because like I'm mostly, you're going to go, do I am mostly vegetarian. And actually, I was ought to say basically, this is a joke that we have going on. Somebody ordered food to be catered the other day, and they were like, "Can we have like 3 to 5 like vegetarian meals? You know, like basically vegetarian. Like, okay, is it is it vegetarian or basically? How do you make it basically? 2 pieces of turkey, not 6." So I'm not sure, but I have studied like where different and I do understand that there are a lot of body types that they do need blood more than other body types. I mean, that really actually has been scientifically proven. So, I mean, I don't dismiss it, and he's really missed the board if he thinks that one human cannot get energy from another human, no matter whether it is through this life force or for that life. I mean, yeah, you do get energy from another human. He's lost it there. But what got you?
There was one documentary I did where they actually hooked me up and tested me before and then tested me after. So yeah, there's proof.
Well, I wonder what they were. Oh, I got to know what the markers are, what they were testing for. Like, what were they doing?
They were doing respiration, breathing, pulse rate, dilation of pupils.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Huh. So they wanted to know. Huh.
Yeah, they wanted to know
what was going on there. Now, as someone that doesn't do this, and I'm not really all that familiar with the human body and stuff, what I see there, I don't seem like it would, or like a biology or different things. This doesn't seem to me like that would produce very much blood, this area, but I assume that it would, or you wouldn't be doing it, but it almost looks to me like it wouldn't.
Well, don't forget, I'm also sucking.
Okay, so that would, I guess it would keep
it
bringing
does
the
cause
blood out. I never would have known that.
Yep.
Huh,
but it's also less likely to scar.
If it does, you can't see it anyway. No, I'm joking. That's where you put your first tattoos. That way, if it's ugly, you never have to look at it.
There is that.
That was just my tester. I shouldn't say that. One of my friends did that, and the guy spelled it wrong on his back. So what's on your back? It's not like it's really gonna. It's on your back. It's not like you got to look at it.
Yeah.
Now, Kim asked, like, what about oxygen levels and stuff? Does that change your oxygen levels to do that?
For me, it did.
It did?
Yeah. You could tell with my respiration and the strength of my pulse and the dilation of the pupils, I was definitely getting more oxygen.
Wow. See, that's fascinating to me. Now, I know, in that video, you said that had happened at that time when you were 7. And I can also see probably even a...
No, I was 11.
Maybe.
And what gets
11,
me?
that's what I meant.
Okay, what gets me is the event I talked about, and I told them this happened on a church bus. So for them to kind of like close all of that out and make it a house scene. Yeah.
Oh, they should have done that. And actually, there could even be energy powers inside of a church bus too, considering the people that are around. Wow, they really changed that up. They made it look like, wow, they changed that up.
Yep.
Wow. I had a grandma. Now, my grandma wasn't abusive though, but she could sure pinch the hell out of you. I can tell you that. She was a pew pincher.
All grandmas know that one. All grandmas know that one.
I have preachers. Preachers know when you're going like this. She got him all right. She got her to shut up. Now, so you did that as a child. What brought you back into that as an adult, or how did you rediscover, or was it something that you continued to do?
Continued to do. From 11 to 13, I was kind of under a woman's watchful eye.
Really?
She took me under her wings, so to speak. But yeah, her name was Ashanti White Mantle, which is where I get the Ashanti sun from.
I was going to say Ashanti-san.
Yep. But she was my first elder in the community. She's the one who taught me not to be ashamed of it, how to deal with it, what to look forward to. But at 13, I was fully inducted.
Wow. Now, when you say
And I've been a part of the
sounds...
community. I've been part of the vampire community ever since. And that was 1978 for anybody who wants to do the math.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So 1970, there's a lot of stuff that was going on back in 1978.
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, there wouldn't have probably been, I'm assuming there probably wouldn't even been like any background studies or anything on it. So was this something that she had learned from prior generations, or how does that? Because I know a lot
actually, the first family, for lack of a better word, that I was a part of, we call them houses now, houses, clans, covens, there's a whole slew of names we call our little organizations. But the first family I was a part of had established back in the 1930s. And it was the offshoot of another family that was even prior to that. So we've always been around.
That's like really, yeah, that's a lot earlier than I was expecting. I had thought that it had, the more I looked into it, when I found out that, I was descended from Vladimir, and it's, the more that I studied about it and kind of learned, I don't know, just about the different houses and stuff like that. And I just wanted to know more and, to find out more about it, to find out who they were. And like I said, that was the house of Draculesti. But now there was never any mention of drinking blood or anything like that. But when I've looked into different, because I study a lot of history and ancient history, when you look into a lot of ancient history in the different cultures, it's global, and it's been since the beginning of time, not just only for the purpose of sacrificial. There's a lot of them that it's voluntary. It's, I don't know what you call it.
We call them donors.
I wouldn't say it was ritualistic. It's more, it's just like what would you call it? It's like an event. What would you call that, I guess?
That's my feeding. But we call it, we call the people we feed from donors. So.
Huh. Yeah, because it is a volunteer thing. I know, actually, let me try to find the one that I had one, and I don't know where it's at. I had pulled up one, it's probably been a couple weeks back. Anyway, it's been a while back when I was talking to you, and I learned where, the eating and the taking of the blood and stuff, it helps with pancreas, and they were saying with the heart, and all these different medical items that it helped with, which really kind of surprised me. I know my mom, my dad, my grandfather, Voltka, you mentioned clouds, so that means cloud walker, but they call him the Butcher of Cincinnati, and it was actually for animals and such. But now he always had my mother, anytime he got sick, he would have her get like mock turtle soup, and mock turtle soup is beef heart and beef blood and all this and that. And he always said, if you're getting sick and you're doing these different things, you have to have, your body's needing the blood. So, your blood is getting weak, is the way he kind of explained it. In his German, way of saying things is that's how you re-strengthen your body. And because your blood is weak, you have to take things in from other blood, like nutrients and minerals.
My grandmother used to go to a kosher butcher.
Did she really?
Yeah. She'd get me little pints of blood.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like you might use my teeth here. Wow, that's crazy. That's kind of neat. That what a coincidence or a parallel. Huh. Yeah,
And to
that's what he
answer
used to do.
Kim had an interesting question. Yes, there are doctors and lawyers and teachers and even a couple of priests that I know that are actually vampires. So, we're out there. We're out there, and I hate to be all kindred the embraced, but we're all around you. So
Yeah, I would say very much so. Yeah, I would think so. Now, Kim also said, sorry, I'm on my phone. Oh, her spelling. Okay, he's just talking about that one. It's so funny. I've moved my straps. I guess see the other question. And now it crossed over her question. I couldn't see it. She said, bloodletting is a way to cleanse your blood and actually, yeah, I am familiar with that. Is in a way to refresh it back to the day. Now they call it blood donation facilities. Yeah, that is interesting. They did do, and bloodletting was and cupping and all of that. That was a very common occurrence.
Leeching.
Then I was getting ready to say that, and leeching. See, we thought that at the same time. Yeah, that was very
Now, is
common.
that great minds think alike or fools seldom differ?
There you go. Yeah. Probably both. We both get pointed. Yeah, probably both. And, at this point, people would just be, if somebody came to you and wanted, and especially somebody like my dad that was in Vietnam had to walk through, but somebody came to you and said, okay, we want to put some leeches on you. They would be like, hell, you will. But you're not going to put any leeches on me, and people think that that's crazy. And really, people would think that the idea of like blood cupping and stuff would be archaic. But my youngest brother, here he comes bringing out this case and showing me this stuff. And I said, well, what is that? And he goes, oh, well, let me show you what this is. And it's like a brand new kit. And he starts showing me, all this cupping and, like she's saying the blood legs. I said, where have you been doing this at? And
because
really lot of the newer generations are learning what the other generations have forgotten.
Mm-hmm. So let me put out this. The reason it's bad in Christendom is because there's sayings in the original translations that the blood is the life, and you're not supposed to steal the life.
And that would make sense. He said, funny in Christendom that when Christendom consecrated bread and the wine turns the body and the blood of Christ. Yeah, that is true. I'm not giving anything to. Yeah, that is true. And also, I think there's a little bit more.
I'm not the only one that's having testicle difficulties. I see.
Yeah, right. that was a big foot issue. My foot's like zoop. I think there's a lot more about that entire that whole flesh and blood than what we're even remotely aware of. Especially the more I dig into the other religions and other identities possible of Christ. There's a lot of things that makes me curious that might have had a lot more meaning to what that,
Well, a lot of the voodoos still use animal sacrifice.
I was wondering if they do, because I heard that some of them they don't allow it and don't have it anymore, but there are some that still are active in the sacrifice.
There's an old saying, that there is no voodoo without blood. Voodoo was created in blood. It will always have blood involved in it somewhere. But you do have people out here that are trying to go more vegan with their spirits. And when Ogu wants his rooster, you don't give him KFC. Sorry, it don't work that way. It's not Weekend at Bernie's.
And no Impossible Chicken.
Lord.
Here is some soy chicken.
Y'all vegetable terrorists.
Just dip it in enough barbecue and you won't even know it's soy.
Vegetable terrorists.
One thing that is kind of interesting about that is when I started finding out and discovering that trees communicate, and they've put sensors on them and everything, and they have really sent out signals of fear that they're in danger when they've heard the different, like the circular saws and stuff. They recognize the sound. They put out that sound, and the same thing they did with
It's
grass.
because
The
trees
grass sent
have
out
memory
pheromones.
too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so if we're thinking that we're being kinder, are we, or we're just not as aware of what's going on over here? It
No,
just doesn't seem as bad because we're less aware.
People don't want to think that their grass actually has feelings.
I know, right? But it does. Let me
Like
tell you, folks.
when I'm working in my garden, I actually thank each of the plants. I give them special food every time I harvest. So, I'm actually trying to perpetuate a more beneficial cycle.
And it makes them healthier. Yeah, kind of like emotos. You get what you put into it, makes something healthier versus more toxic. Now with I was kind of wondering, like when you mentioned like covens and stuff like that, I know they have one in New York, and so I'm assuming that like a vampire association. Yeah, you're going one.
One?
Just yeah, right. Many. So I'm assuming like I mean, I don't know. It's not really like a religion where you have like a religion
Now,
type thing.
some
But
vampires have worked it into their religious.
I was wondering about that.
No, not for me. Not for me. My religion is full enough. I don't need to add extra parts to it. Just saying. I got enough to do with all this voodoo stuff. I don't need to add that part into it too.
I'm a little bit busy over here with this other stuff. So, I mean, is there a association? I mean, the one of New Orleans is localized, but I mean, is it like a national community or international probably community?
International, yep.
Yeah, I would think so. Huh, I was wondering about that.
Don't bombard the Papa.
What did he say? Now, is there any like, I don't even know how, like, I don't know, when you do it, do you, because I'm going from the religious and because I'm one of those people in life. I don't know, a lot of people sometimes are like, is everything about spirituality with you? Yeah. So is there any way?
I keep my spirituality and my physicality separate.
Really? Because I was wondering, like, do you even like
facets of myself?
Okay. So you don't like do like a cleansing or anything on this person before you like harvest, I would call it, their blood or anything? Or residual energies they might have in it or anything?
When you're picking stuff out of your garden, don't you slip some of it in your mouth here and there too?
Yeah, because I don't put chemicals and stuff on it. So yeah.
You didn't cleanse it. You just shoved it in.
Always bless it though. I bless my carrots and stuff. So, and I would guess, I would assume it would be people. I mean, as far as it has to be somebody that because they're voluntarily doing, Dave.
And one for the Godfather.
Dave. So on those, I'm assuming, I mean, it has to be like a community and you have to know each other. And I did read like you guys have like certain areas that you go to and everyone has to, the Godfather, he gave himself a point. That doesn't count.
It did count. It stopped you in mid-sentence.
It was funny. It was funny. Now, do you guys have like, I read like there's like, I don't know what you call it, but it's like private bars or something that you guys go to, or taverns, or meetups or social centers, or?
Oh yeah, we have gatherings, and we have 3 big ones that happen here in New Orleans during Halloween.
Oh, I bet that's neat.
Yeah, a lot of us, because we are fans of vampire fiction, including Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, we'll head over to the Anne Rice Ball, or we'll head over to the Endless Nights Ball, or we'll head over to the Alliance Ball. So yeah, we got a lot of different things that we'll do. There is a vampire bar in town called Potions.
I was going to ask the next
Marita
time.
Crandall runs that. Marita Crandall runs that. And she owns the Boutique de Vampire, as well as the Vampire Cafe. So yeah, there's places that we go.
Wow. So that is kind of neat.
New York, back in the day, when we first started getting our community together and decided we wanted to be a community that wasn't just a fringe community on the BDSM side of things. Long story, but
I bet.
Well, BDSM parties back in the day were the only place that bloodletting was allowed.
Wow.
So what better place for a sanguine to get his fill? One of those kind of parties. But then we had a group of vampires that got together and were like, we're going to turn this into something and we're going to make this a community. And then we had a club in New York called Mothers. That's where everybody kind of congregated.
This is saying the body of Christ and blood does not mean symbolic of his literal. A lot of people said not understanding. I think it would probably depend on which denomination and what it is that they're teaching, whether or not it's symbolic or literal. Coming with the Catholic Church, I think it might have been a lot more literal than people realize.
A lot of the Catholics, a lot of the Catholics believe that it's a literal transformation.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they actually really
once
do
it's
believe
consecrated, it becomes the body of Christ and the blood of Christ.
I know, and I do find that interesting because I was thinking Stanford, but I swear I think it was Harvard had done a study that the consumption of blood actually increases like the longevity of life, which kind of surprised me. And
yeah, that's why they're doing the new studies with younger blood in older bodies.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually studies being done. Go ahead.
Really? So this is like a strange question. Why would what would be the difference in obtaining or getting a transfusion? Or of course that would be probably more blood than the body needs. That would be your old blood going out and new blood going in. So that's not quite the same thing, then, would it?
No,
yeah,
that's not quite the same thing. But the blood that's coming in would be cleansed. So it would be a cleaner blood going in than it would be coming out.
Yeah, that would make sense. Huh.
Think about it like a giant dialysis.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it would be. Huh. Wow. Now, how much do you drink? I mean, is it like, are you sitting down drinking
depending
a glass of
on
V8,
how
or is it
depending on how spiritually and physically active I am, it can be anywhere between an ounce to 6 ounces.
Wow, that's a lot, actually. A lot more than I expected.
Yes.
Now,
and back in the day when I was first awakening, it was always around 6 ounces.
wow.
So a nice sized glass of blood.
Yeah, so it really is like that much. I wasn't thinking that it probably would. Now, is that, wow, how often is that, or do you do that?
Depending on activity, 3 to 4 times a week.
Really? Get out. I didn't even expect that.
I have 4 separate donors, and I created this thing called the Donor Bill of Rights with bouncing ideals off of people because we heard about some donors being abused. So we came up with a way to protect our donors. It's based off of some of the old BDSM contracts that we had to go through back in the day. So, but it puts a lot of control in the donors the donor's hands, they actually have the right to say, not today. So my donors aren't afraid to say things like, hey, I'm not feeling it today. Can you check with one of the others?
Yeah, I could
But
see
I make
that. Say
sure I
somebody
don't
didn't
do
get
two
much sleep or
donors in a
didn't
row.
eat well.
I don't do the same donor twice in a row.
Oh, really? Okay. Huh. Now, are there any like blood substitutes that you use if there's not someone that's
I
available?
do have a pseudo
Makes
blood
me think of that
recipe.
TV show True Blood.
I do have a pseudo blood recipe. However, it's more to curb the craving than it is to actually do anything else.
Well, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask, do you ever have a craving?
Yeah, that's when I know
Wow.
I'm hungry.
Is that
And
like
like it said in the video, I'm one that it shows on. If I'm not feeding properly, my skin is ashy, my eyes are dull, my hair is limp and lifeless. There's no luster to it. So yeah, it physically shows on me.
so it's like a physiological craving that you have? So you actually
Yep.
you can actually feel it versus it's not like you're psychologically craving the event of it. Your body's actually physically
Yep.
craving it. Wow, that's fascinating. Huh. I learned a lot tonight. I did not even know that. Well, I'll tell you what. Oh my gosh, it's at 10:51. I just now seen that too. Wow, I've talked to you. You're easy to talk to. That's cool. I would like to have you back on again and just discuss whatever. But I would really definitely like to learn and I would like to learn more about voodoo. To me, there's a lot of different things to be learned with that, especially when I started looking into the holistic aspects. There's a wealth of knowledge. There's hundreds or centuries of knowledge in the voodoo religion
Yep.
that kind of surprised me about the holistic aspects.
Now the fun thing is I have my Jewish traditions and I have my Native American traditions and I have the African traditions. So I definitely have a love of herbalism.
And you've got a wealth of knowledge to grab. Yeah, you do. See, that's I think that's the new frontier, as crazy as that sounds. It's something that all of us knew and all of us forgot. So now learning about the plants and everything has become the new frontier. So if you would be interested in coming back again, I would very much like to have you as a guest again.
Sure.
Hey, cool beans. I think I'm getting ready.
Stick around. Don't sign off after the end of the show. I got a few comments and questions for you as well.
Okay.
Uh-oh. The Godfather has the vino.
Well, let me tell you, he better be passing some vino to me.
You know what? My daughter's friend, it's chocolate wine. It was actually kind of impressive. I didn't expect it. It actually is really good. But yeah, I would like to have you back on again. I've had a great time tonight. I've learned a lot, and I'll actually be looking into about that dream. I've always, especially with it being such a pivotal moment in my life, and I've never even hardly told anybody about that. I can't believe I just sat there and told this on this like that. But whatever I did, so it is what it is. I guess I was meant to. I didn't even think about it until just now. Yeah,
it happens.
It happened. I'll have to be looking in it and studying that more. And I'm going to go ahead and I want to thank all of you guys for coming on and watching our show this evening and being really cool about, just taking your time and learning, asking questions and getting to know something with an unbiased opinion. That's how we really learn things in life. And that's how we also, accomplish becoming a stronger humanity, a stronger human race, is by learning from each other. And I think that was really cool that all of you guys participated in a positive way. Sometimes these subjects, often people go into a very negative area with that, even with the paranormal. When we mention ghosts, is that's not ghost, it's a demon. It's all there's everybody's got this and that, but to really just get together and join and to learn, I
like
really
the one that's
appreciate.
over my shoulder.
Yeah, you've got a lot of
I can feel it. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. So
like, hey, you. Yeah, and being where you're at, yeah, that's talking about probably extremely. Well, it is actually. I've walked. It's very populated.
yep.
Very, very. And yeah, they're not piping down. But I want to thank all of you guys for joining us this evening. And I have had a fantastic time. And I think that I know I learned quite a bit that I did not know, and which I'll review this several times and try to learn how to spell these so that I can look up some of these names on Google. I'll be like, Google, please spell, or I'll play the video and say, I'll hit the microphone, Google, please find, and then I'll have you say the word. Then it'll pull it up for me. But I really appreciate all the time that you guys have spent with us this evening, and I hope that you join me next week. I have a kind of neat guest, and his name is Adam Fields, and he is a cartoonist. He does like the cartoon work for Marvel Comics, and he started his new series. Actually, it's an old series of his that he has renewed called Prowl, and it's a pretty highly collector series that hopefully I think he's really going to get out there, and he's really putting a lot into it. I guess that's like what we call our baby. Everybody has like their art, like this one's my baby, and that one is his. And I want to thank you guys for joining us. We have been at Voodoo Authentica with Papa Czar in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and this is Papa Czar. And how can people contact you or reach out to you if they want to get in touch with you?
They can either contact the shop, or they can hit me up at belfazar1@gmail.com.
Awesome. And now you have 2 books that are out and are available?
I have Beneath the Sheltering Oak, which is a nod to druids, by the way. And it's all of my protection spells, shielding techniques. Well, I've got like a list of 6,500, but this book has a few of my favorites in there. So
that's very cool.
I collect protection spells from around the world.
I'm going to say that I do that. Yes, I'll tell you what, there's a lot. That's what Solomon did. People don't.
And
that's what he did.
And then Voodoo Through My Eyes is about my journey in New Orleans traditional voodoo.
Oh, I bet that's fascinating.
You can find all the copies to his book and the main website of Voodoo Authentica by going to skydornentertainment.org under authors and click Balthazar.
Made that easier. There you go. There's where you can get them at.
I am the Godfather.
He wants an altar. No.
Better the Godfather than the Gothfather. Shaw.
Yeah, than the Gothfather. I like that one.
Lord, we had a guy running around here calling himself that for a while.
He did. I met a couple kids. I met a couple people like that. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening, and I'm going to go ahead and have him take us out and sign us off. And I will see you all again next week, and have a very blessed week.